Hello everyone and welcome to SimpliCode's YouTube channel. Kaushal this side and I hope you guys are doing well. Today we'll be taking you through CSS layouts. CSS layouts play a vital role in the creation of a website. In this particular session, we'll see how CSS layouts are used to create a web page. But before we begin, let me tell you guys that we have regular updates on multiple programming videos. So if you are a programmer and if you want to learn something new, then consider getting subscribed to our channel and press that bell icon to never miss any updates from SimpliCode. So without any further delay, let's get started with the topic for today, which is CSS layout. We have been through a lot of CSS properties in the past few videos. We have done almost everything from styling text to manipulating the images and a lot of things we have done with CSS. Now, what are CSS layout or what is CSS layout? Imagine creating a website and you have an image with you. So what you can do is you need to place that image at a particular point on the web page so that it looks good. Now, that's what CSS layout does. CSS layout creates the structure of a web page. It basically allows us to take elements contained in a web page and control where we want to position them. There are certain factors related to this particular topic. The default position in normal layout flow. So what is normal layout flow? We'll discuss it in a while. The other elements around them. So let's say we have an image and we have some other text present right next to the image. So how we can structure it, how we can create the layout of a web page so that it looks good. We can place the image over here and then we can use the text, or we can place the image in the center and then we can use the text around the image. There are certain possibilities to that. So the page layout techniques we'll be covering in this particular video are, initially we'll go through what normal flow is. Then we'll go through the display property in CSS. Display property is a very important property because we use it almost everywhere while using CSS. Then we'll go through CSS FlexBox. We'll go through CSS Grids. We'll also go through the CSS Float Property. And there are certain other properties like the positioning, table layout, multiple column layout. And we'll go through everything in this particular video. So every technique has its own usage, advantages, and also disadvantages, because everything comes with certain pros and cons as well. So there's not a single technique which is designed to be used in isolation. So let's start with normal flow. So what is normal flow? As the name suggests, normal flow is how the browser lays out HTML pages by default, when we do nothing to control the page layout. So let's take a quick example of it and I believe you guys will understand it much better. So what we are going to do is we are going to add a paragraph over here. So let's say we are writing something over here. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel already, then please guys subscribe it. And let's write it over here. Let's leave it over here. Now we are going to use, let's say, a list. So we are going to use a list, let's say an unordered list. Then we are going to use the HTML item. We can say HTML element. So the list element we are going to use. So basically, I believe you guys are already aware of the HTML topics, like the basic HTML attributes, tags, elements, everything you should know before moving forward to CSS. So we have dedicated videos over these topics present in our channel. If you guys haven't watched them yet, then please go through them and you guys will understand CSS way better. Fine. So let's write something over here in the list. So we'll write over here. Let's take the example of some fruits. So let's say we have apple written over here, then we have banana, and then we have, let's take another fruit. That's it. So we have mango over here as well. So we have the list. Now let's add another channel. Or we can say another paragraph. So we'll write over here like the video. Save it, and here you can see by default the browser displays this code as follows. So here we have subscribed to our present over here at the top, then we have apple, banana and mango present in unordered list, and then we have like the video. You can notice how HTML is displayed in the exact order in which it appears in the source code, right? So here you can see this appears first, so it is present at first number in the web page as well. Then we have apple, banana, mango. They both are exactly same basically. The only difference is there are no tags visible in the browser. So this is what normal flow is. The elements that appear one below the other are described as block elements, in contrast to inline elements which appear beside one another like the individual words in paragraph. So there are two different types of elements here, HTML block elements and HTML inline elements. You guys can go through a video dedicated to it inside the HTML playlist and you guys will understand it. So for many of the elements on a web page, the normal flow creates exactly the layout we need. So basically, if we are going to need a list, what we can do is just let me copy it from here and we paste it here. Fine. So this is the list. Fine. Let's copy these three elements and paste them again so that our list goes a little longer. Fine. So we have these elements present within a HTML file. So here you can see if we want a list on a browser, the still list will remain the same, right? So here's our list. We needed it like this only. So the normal flow did it for us. We don't need any layout property or anything regarding to CSS for that. So what if we need something special for this particular list? Then we have to use some CSS properties like the position property, the display property, the floats, flexbox, grids, and a lot of other things. So the methods that can change how elements are laid out in CSS or how elements are laid out on the web page, we have certain elements as we have already discussed. The first one we have is the display property. So let me just remove this unordered list from here, save it again, and here you can see we have this content present on our web page. Now the display property, we have the first property. So what is the display property? The display property in CSS basically defines how we are going to place the components on the web page. As the name suggests, we use this property to define the display of different parts of the web page. So there are certain values we can use with the display properties. So what we are going to do is we are going to use over here two different values. We are going to use block and we are going to use inline. There are certain other values as well. We can use grids, flex, everything is a part of the display property. So we are going to get on this later. For now, let's do one thing. So I'll be doing here, we are going to write here div class is equals to, let's say, div 1. We are going to write here box 1. And we are going to copy this and we are going to paste this. So let's move ahead and style these boxes. We are going to use the style tag for this inside this HTML document. We are going to write here dot div 1. We are going to write here height is 20 pixels and we are going to write here width as 20 pixels. Fine. Background color we are also going to define. Background color we are going to write here Azure. Save it, and here you can see it's not visible because Azure is almost white. So let's use some other color. Let's say what we can use, red. Fine, save it, and here you can see we have box 1, box 2 and box 3. So let's increase, let me just increase the size. Yeah, it's at 150 now. So let's just increase the height and width. We are going to write here 100 and 100 here as well. Save it. So you can see these three boxes. They are three different boxes. Okay, so let me just change the class over here. Save it. Here you can see it's box 1. We are going to use some padding. Padding, let's say we are going to use 5 pixels. Fine. Now we are going to style our div 2 as well. So we are going to paste it here and we are going to change the class plus the color. So let's say we are going to use some other color. Let's say we are going to use aqua. Save it, and here you can see this is the color. Margin we can also use over here. Margin we are going to write as 5 pixels. So here you can see the difference in between the boxes, and we are going to write margin here as well as 5 pixels from all the sides. So now these boxes are aligned well. Let's copy it and paste it over here. So we are going to use the div3 class, save it, and change the color to gray. Fine, save it, and here you can see we have three different boxes with three different colors: red, aqua, and gray. So you can see, right, this is how the normal flow actually works. We haven't used the display property yet. So let's use the display property once and see. So this is basically the block property. They are already aligned in the block property. So what we can do is we can write here display as block, save it, display as block over here as well, and display as block over here as well. So you can see there is no change in any of the boxes because the display property as block is already default property for these HTML elements. Say for example, if we are going to use any other element, the display property is already set to that. The default display property, the default value will be set to every HTML element. For these elements, the block property is already set. Let's use some other property like the inline property and see if it works. So here you can see the inline property, it's working. So we are going to write here inline and again here inline. Fine, save it. So here you can see all the three boxes are in line. They are next to each other now. This is how we can use the display property. Although we have different values present for display property. Like if I tell you about some of the values. So we have contents, we have flex, we have grid. So just write display over here and you guys will get to know which all properties we have for the which all values we have for the display property. So here you can see we have blocks, contents, flex, flexbox, flow root, grid, inline. Inline block we have. So we are going to write here inline block and we are going to check. Save it. And here you can see they are inline and block. Two of them are next to each other and two of them are below each other. Fine. So the gray box is below the red one and the blue one is next to the red one. So this is how the inline block property works. So guys, see one thing. It is actually not possible to remember every value. Fine. So you guys should know what a particular value does and you will get to know about them, right? So if I write over here contents, so here you can see it will only show the contents and contents. Fine, save them. So here you can see we have no box present over here, no boxes present over here. So the only thing we have is a content. So this is how the contents property works. We have other properties as well. If we write over here flex, save it, and we are going to write here flex again, and we are going to write here flex again, save it, and here you can see the flex property works like this. And what if we write flexbox? Let's check it out. So here you can see it's making no difference over here. So we can use other values as well, like which all values we have over here. Let's see, we are going to write over here display again. So here you can see we have flow root, grid. Let's try grid once. Okay, we will write grid over here again. Save it, and here you can see this is the grid way. So basically we are going to discuss about the flex and the grid in separate videos as well. So let's move ahead, and we already know what the display property can do, how it can be used to lay out a website, to structure the layout of a website. So here you can see this is the layout of particular three boxes we created, right? We wanted them to stack over one another. If we want them in line, we can just write over here in line within each box. It will get in line according to our needs. So if we write over here in line and then again in line over here, save it, and here you can see these all are in line. Now we are done with the display property. So the next property we have is the flexbox. Flexbox is basically the short name for flexible box layout. So it is a CSS module. It is designed to make it easy for us to lay out things in one dimension. Remember this, flexbox is used for one dimension. Either we can use rows or we can use columns. to use FlexBox, we need to apply the display property and we need to use the value as flex to the parent element of the elements. Fine. So what we can do is we have three boxes over here. Just remove this, remove everything from here. What we can do is we have three boxes over here. Box 1, let's change the name to box 2 and box 3 for these boxes. So here you can see we have three boxes. Now what we can do is we can use another div with class as flex with 2x. So here you have to keep these things in mind, which class you are using, which ID, if you are using the ID attribute. Save it. So here you can see we have a class with name as flex with double 2x, right? So what we can do is we can go here in the CSS part, we can write over here dot flex and we can write display over here as flex. Save it. So here you can see they are next to each other now. Now what we can do is we can change the, what we can say, styling. So for that we can use the background color. Background color is aqua, and then we have height and width. Height is going to be 20 pixels and then we have width 20 pixels again. So 20 is a little less, so we are going to use 100 over here. Save it. So here you can see, okay, it will get applied to the whole, basically what we can say, to the whole class. Every box will get only one box. Fine. So for that we need to style all the boxes in different manner. So we have to use class for class div1, div2 and div3. Fine. We can use them to style each box, right? So let's do it quickly over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write here dot div1 and I'm going to write here height as 50 pixels, width as 25 pixels and background color. Fine. So I'm going to write here background color as aqua. Save it. And here you can see it's not completely visible, so I'll do it 75 over here. Okay, 750 is a little more, and width I'm going to use 50. Fine. So here you can see we have box 1 present over here. Similarly we can style box 2 and box 3 as well. So I have to write here div2 and div3. Save it. So here you can see we have three boxes. Just change the color and you'll be able to see the difference: aqua, blue and red. Save it. So here you can see the difference. This is how the CSS flex property works. So don't worry guys, we are going to go through the CSS FlexBox module in a separate video. We'll cover everything about CSS FlexBox. Moving ahead, we have the next property as grid layout. So similar to FlexBox, we can enable grid layout with the help of display property only. So what will change is display as grid. Fine, the value will be grid. So what is grid property? Grid property basically used two dimensions. So unlike the FlexBox which uses one dimension, grid property use two-dimensional. Fine. So let's go through it with the help of an example now. So I'm going to remove all the divs from here and we are going to add some more boxes. So let's add these boxes. We have div 3, 4, 5, 6. Different class for each box, different name for each box. So we are just going through the different properties we have, the different CSS layout properties we have. That's it. We are going to go through certain properties which are important, like the flex box and the grid box. We are going to go through them separately in another video. Fine. So what we can do is, instead of flex, I'll change the name here from flex to grid with double D, and I'm going to write here display as grid. Fine. So here you can see the display. Then we have to use certain properties which we are going to use. We are going to use columns and rows. Fine. So we are going to write here 1fr, 1fr, 1fr. We are going to go through this complete grid box tutorial. We'll cover them in the upcoming videos, maybe in the next or in the next to next video. We'll cover flexbox first, then we'll cover grid layout. and then we'll cover the difference between them as well. So don't worry guys if you are not getting it completely right now. So we are going to write here grid template rows. So we are going to write here 100 pixels and 100 pixels. Gap we also have to define. So gap we are going to keep as 10 pixels. And here you can see it's not working for now because we need to style them as well, and we need to change the class name. We have to write here grid with a double D, and here you can see the 6 boxes, they are placed right. So what we can do is we can style them now. Just style div1, we have to write here dot div1. Then we have to write here background color. We are going to use any color, let's say aquamarine, because we are getting late. So we are going to write here height next. Height we are going to write 100 pixels. Width we are also going to write as 100 pixels. So it's easy to use CSS grid property. It's quite easy. So you guys will see right now. Save it. And here you can see we have the color for div1. Similarly, we can do the same for div2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Let's start with 6. Background color we are going to change. So let's keep it something like this. So here you can see the box 6 is dark green. I'm not choosing any specific color as of now, so you guys will understand it. We are going to write here div5 instead of div1. Save it. And here you can see box 5 also have a color. The similar thing we are going to do with div4 as well. Okay, so let's change it a bit. So these are the perks of using VS Code basically. We don't have to remember any color you want, just go through it and it will help you. It will really help you. So we have to write here div3. Fine. So div3 is now colored and we are left with div2 only. We are going to change the color from here. Let's keep it a little pink. And here you can see we have all the 6 boxes with different colors. This is how the CSS grid layout works. There is a difference between CSS FlexBox and CSS grid layouts. So we'll go through the difference between them in the upcoming videos, surely guys. So for now we are done with the grid box. We can use grid box in different ways. Trust me, grid layout is the most important as well as interesting topic in CSS. So the next property we are going to use is we are going to use the float property. Floating an element changes the behavior of that element and the block level elements that follow it in normal flow. The floated element is moved to the left or to the right and removed from the normal flow, and the surrounding content floats around it. So the float property has different values. Fine. So let me just show you the example of this. What we are going to do is, first of all, we have to remove this tile. I hope you guys are trying to use the code with me so that it will be easy for you guys to understand. Now what we'll do is we have the topic written over here. We are going to use a div tag. So we are going to write here div class is equals to box, and then we have float. Fine. Save it. So here you can see we have just single heading with a div, and then we are going to use the paragraph. So let's use this lorem ipsum, whatever it is. Let's use 100 words of this paragraph. Press enter, and here you can see we have 100 words. So all the 100 words are present over here. Fine. Then the next thing we are going to do is we are going to move to the style tag. We are going to write here dot box. Box is the class name. Float we are going to write here, and let's see if it makes any difference. Left, and here you can see this is the float and this is a paragraph. Fine. How we can identify them is we can use the style attribute over here. Fine. Font weight as bolder. Save it, and here you can see this is float. We can do the same for an image. Imagine there is an image over here and the paragraph starts from here. It looks good, right? So this is what we can do with the float. The next thing we can do here is we can write over here width is going to be 150 pixels, and then we can write over here height is going to be 150 pixels again. Save it, and here you can see this area is now empty. We can use border color, we can use different things, right? Let's say we have a border of 1 pixel which is solid in nature and aqua in color. Fine, save it. So here you can see the border. We can use border radius property as well to make it look more attractive. Besides this, we can use the background color with aquamarine, and here you can see the box. Fine, let's do one more thing. So we are going to write here border radius. Border radius is going to be 5 pixels. Save it, and here you can see the border plus the only thing now we are remaining with is the margin. Margin right we can use so that the paragraph starts from a little more right. We can use 5 pixels from each side. So here you can see now it looks good, right? Float, this is a image. Let's assume this is an image and the paragraph starts from here. This is how we can use the float property. This property can have different values like left, right. We can also use, just you see here you can see now the image is at the right and the paragraph starts from the left. This is how we can make a web page look more attractive to the user. Don't you think, guys? It will look attractive, right? So yeah, next we have positioning techniques. So you might have seen me, or you must have seen anyone writing position as absolute. Then we have static and some other positions. Basically there are different values. I also don't remember every value. So we have static, we have absolute, we have relative, we have fixed, we have sticky. So these all are the values for positioning property, CSS positioning property. So let's go through the example of positioning quickly. Fine. What we are going to do is we are going to write here a paragraph. Hey there, how are you? Fine, so let's use it for now. So this is a paragraph. Then we can write over here class. We can use class as position, and we can write over here I am SimpliCode. Fine. And then we can use another paragraph. We can write here the same. Let's copy it from here and paste it here. See, we have 3 different paragraphs, right? Now we can use CSS. How we can use it? Let's move to the header section of our web page, or we can say HTML document. Use the style tag, which is the most important thing. Then we can use width. Let's just use body over here. So body is our tag, the body tag, the main tag. Now we are going to keep the width of our body tag as 500 pixels, and then we have margin. Margin as 0 and auto. Fine. So here you can see nothing changes. Then we are going to use the paragraph tag. We are going to use background color as, let's use some value, not azure. Azure is almost white, because let's use this color. And then we have border as 2 pixel, solid and red in color. Fine. So here you can see, I think, yeah, this is the mistake. So here you can see the border is red color. We can use padding and margin as well. Padding is 10 pixels, margin is, okay, just a second, made a mistake. We are going to write here margin is 10 pixels again. I hope you guys know how CSS box model works. Border, padding, margin, and content at the innermost level. Now use the border radius 5 pixels. Let's keep it. So here you can see this is the output. Now relative positioning. What is relative positioning? Relative positioning allows us to offset an item from its default position in normal flow. This means we could achieve a task such as moving an icon down a bit so it lines up with a text label. To do this, we need to add something, like we need to add the position property. So we have this, right? We are going to position this particular paragraph or this particular box. So we are going to write here dot position, which is the class. Position is going to be relative. We have to define top and left. We have already discussed it, right? Top as 30 pixels, we just have to use semicolon over here, and left we are going to use is 30 pixels. Fine, save here. So here you can see the difference, right? What it did is it affected element down and to the right. It moved it to the right because the top is now 30 pixels and the left is also 30 pixels. So it moved down the box a little bit. Fine. Then we have absolute positioning. Absolute positioning is used to completely remove an element from the normal flow and instead position it using offset from edges of a containing block. Going to back to our non-position example, what we have to do is we have to remove this from here, save it. So this is it now. Okay, so we have to write here position as absolute, save it, and here you can see it aligns. It basically brings out the whole element from the normal flow and it aligns it according to a CSS page. Now you can see the top and left property are working according to the size of a web browser. So here you can see this is 30 pixel and this is 30 pixel as well. Now if we do the same for relative, let me show you the difference. For relative, the 30 pixels starts from here. It's in the normal flow. The box is still in the normal flow and we are editing it in the normal flow. That's the difference between absolute and relative property in the position values in the position property. Sorry. So we are going to write here absolute again, and here you can see the paragraph is moved to the top with 30 pixel from the top and 30 pixel from the left. Fine. Fixed positioning is the next value. Fixed positioning removes a element from the document flow in the same way as absolute positioning. So that once the document is removed, instead of offsets being applied from the container, they are applied from the viewport because the item remains fixed in relation to the viewport. So if we write over here fixed, save it, and now add a paragraph over here. Let's do it. So we are going to write here lorem 500, save it, and here you can see we can scroll everything, but I am SimpliCode. This particular box is still there. It remains everywhere. So this property, this value for positioning property is basically used for navigation bar. You have been through websites where the navigation bar stays there. It does not changes its position. That's how we can do it with the help of basic CSS. We haven't done anything. We just use the position property and the value we used is fixed. Fine. So this is how we can use the fixed positioning. Now sticky positioning is also there. Sticky positioning is the final positioning method basically. It mixes relative positioning with fixed positioning. When an item has position as sticky, it will scroll down in normal flow until it hits offsets from the viewport that we have defined. So let me just tell you how it works. Just use sticky over here. Save it. And here you can see nothing is different. So what we can do is we can add, okay, we have to use paragraph. We will write here lorem 500, save it. So it will stick there according to the viewport of the browser. So here you can see if we are scrolling it from here, this element is scrolling with the flow. It's in the normal flow. It's a mix, right? So the moment we are going out of a viewport, you can see it sticks there, right? Within the viewport, within the suggested area, like 30 pixels from here, 30 pixels from here. Fine. So yeah, this is how it works. Just let me just do it. Fine, I guess I have to remove this whole paragraph now. Save it, and yeah, here we have only 3 boxes left. So these are the layouts we were supposed to discuss in this particular tutorial. I hope you guys got it. So if you have any questions related to any of the topics we covered in today's tutorial, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section below and we'll answer them for you. Apart from that, do try to code all of this by yourself because it is rightly said that coding makes a person better. So the only way to master a programming language is by coding in it, right? So that's how you can master your CSS. Just try this with by yourself and you guys will understand it much better. And you can put the any queries or questions down in the comment section below. So that's all for this video, guys. See you in the next one, where we'll be taking you through CSS FlexBox, grids, and the difference between them. We'll be covering these topics in different videos. So stay tuned to SimpliCode. Thank you.